took this bracelet here and decided it was the right kind of length that I liked, and I put it into my graph paper that is available on AKAAWOL.com and kind of worked out to get the length of it, and then erased whatever was left over as extra. And then from there, I went and found where the halfway point was, so that way I can make it as symmetrical as I want with just about any other design. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take patterns that you guys suggest and maybe put my own little flair on them. So if you've got ideas, send me some bracelet pattern numbers that use 16 strands and up to 8 colors. Hello and welcome. This is Kevin, also known as AKAAWOL, and today we are basically going to try to explain how I came about to get these 3 bracelets. And it all started with this. This was the request that was asked, but mind you, that's a 24 string bracelet versus what I set out the challenge for, which these are 16 string. So let me go to an earlier video and show you kind of what I was working on earlier on, and then I will show you some more footage as well. Hang on. Okay, so I lost some of my footage while trying to record this, but I'll try to show you what I did. I basically took from this rough version of where the pattern kind of started from, and I got this far with it. And I couldn't really go any further because I didn't really know where the other colors were going to lay in it. And I kind of needed that first off. And I needed to make sure that I had all of these colors going where they needed to be. So what I did was I went to do this. Now this is where that whole pattern really originated from, was just doing a simple design of mine, right? But then I would wipe out everything in the middle here, right? So I'd end up with it like this. And then what happens is once I had this, I took this square up at the top. You can see it's still actually highlighted from when I cropped it. I cropped that and stuck it onto here. And once I had that, I had enough to start building, and I worked out all of the designs. Essentially, every time a color came out here, it just went straight. And once it crossed over itself, it just goes underneath until it comes bouncing out and does it again. And that happens all the way through. Now you can see there's 4 oranges and 4 blues. Some of the blues have to come out to make this whole thing work. That's just how it works. This is a little bit questionable. Maybe this should have been the blues instead. Let me grab my paint tool. Yeah, I think that's how that should have been. Okay. But yeah, so that's what I did. It's a little bit complicated, and mind you, the original, because it was so many more strings, I didn't need to have a whole diamond at the top and the bottom. But that's what this whole project is kind of about, is how would I compensate for making it fewer strings or changing things up to make it fit within this kind of mold. And this is it. This is what that looks like. So now I need to decide whether I'm going to make this as a bracelet or this one or both. If I have the string for it, I think I might actually try for both. So that will come up in the next video. All right, I'll be right back. Okay, so basically making this one, parts of it, like that first diamond and that first little bit, I did not have to look at the pattern, obviously, but once I got up to this part, I am spending time actually looking up at my screen and making sure that I have it right. I did change it a little bit from the pattern that you saw me draw out. Before I was going to mix up the colors just so that way they wouldn't be so organized in this part, but then I kind of decided that since I had already made the regular plain old version, I guess, I decided I would go with the more whatever, I don't know. I swapped the colors around. I made it happen. So this is what we got, and I have to say I really do like how it turned out. It didn't it scrambles up the colors just enough that you can't tell that there was a difference made by making them in the right sequence in the first place. So yeah, I'm kind of really happy with all of that. Mind you, all these patterns are going to be available over on my website, AKAAWOL.com. And I invite you to make your own. Try it out with your own colors. Do what you want. Mind you, I am using the Chinese floss, which is a bit thicker. So if you're doing this with DMC or anything thinner like Daiso string, it will be a pretty small bracelet, just as a heads up. So it is what it is. I mapped out the template based on the kind of strings that I'm using. So that was a deliberate move on my part because it makes the bracelets the way I want them. If you want to change it, the graph paper is also available over on my website. You can figure out a pattern based on the length that you want to work with, and then essentially just kind of follow the same steps I did. You know, draw out where the center is, work out the patterns accordingly, and then maybe you have to, it's not just a diamond, maybe you have to use some chevrons at the top to make up the difference in the spacing or something to that effect. Either way, it still kind of works out and it'll turn out nice. So there you have it. Here's where you can see it's the reaching the center right there. The blue had to double back, and that's kind of, you know, and then the yellow double back, and the red, and the white. This was tricky, but not by any stretch of the imagination terribly difficult. You can see like I didn't kind of concentrate on one area at a time, and yeah, it is advanced. I'm not gonna lie, this is advanced. This is not something I would suggest a beginner to try out per se. But if you're experienced at bracelet making, I think you could do this. The pattern is there, you know, you can work from that. But yeah, this is definitely not really a beginner's kind of thing. Especially if you're like, no, it's just not. It really isn't. So, but I definitely want to see, like, if you guys make this, you know, use these patterns, like, tag me or something over in Instagram so I can see. I think it'd be fun to know that other people are actually doing this sort of thing. So, as you can see, I'm bringing the colors in more and more now. I'm way past the center point, and at this point it really was starting to get easier for me. You can see I started bringing that blue, but then I realized, like, nope, I have to bring in one more orange before that actually works out. So, you know, I figured it out in the end. But yeah, the blue has to come out, you know, that many spaces in order for the rest to kind of fit into place. And it's kind of neat, like that really light color blue, like it's almost a white, so it really kind of almost hides the fact that, you know, it's one of the blue colors going through there. I think that helped to add to it. This one right here. So the fact that it's coming in and it's going to actually be part of the whole blue series is kind of fun. Every once in a while, I think I kind of get lucky in the colors that I choose. So, and these colors really do go brilliantly together. It really is pretty awesome. So this is bracelet number 2. And you can kind of see it's at this point it's getting like way easier and like almost to the end of the whole tricky, goofy part. So here we go. All right, so that's this bracelet, and you can see how the beginning and the ends and stuff are the same as the first one, just changed out the whole middle area. Now the third bracelet, that's something else altogether. I went to some pretty great lengths to erase everything out here, and I left the pattern exactly what was going on in here is exactly what's happening on the inside of this. So the colors that come out are according to what happened in this one. So that's kind of neat. When making out this pattern, I'll show you something cool. So this one has a bit of using GIMP to just sort of, I just worked on the one side, copy it, flip it, put it on the other side, then take the whole top half and flip that and make that the bottom, essentially. So that's what the whole GIMP magic was. It made it kind of quick and easy, and yeah, I really appreciate how quickly and stuff that went. And then the starting it off with the chevron coming, towards the middle from the top, that really threw me off because that's not something I normally do. And yeah, that took a little getting used to at first, but once I kind of got it going, I was all right. The trick with this one really was just making sure that I lined up the colors in the right sequence to make sure that it would do what it's supposed to do. And yeah, that turned out just fine. In fact, kind of once I kind of got like most of the way, like not maybe like, no, I just can't say it. Once I got about a little more than a third of the way, I was hardly even looking at the pattern anymore. It just all sort of fell into place and made sense for me. Not that it will for you per se. I don't know. I don't know what skill levels and stuff you guys are at, but the pattern, like I said, these patterns are available over on my website, and you can check it out and you can try it and you can tell me if it was super hard or not. I really like how this one turns out. It's so starburst kind of, and then you've got this sort of arrowhead thing going on, but and I'm not even sure if like there's another term for it, but like if it's going arrowhead in two different directions, like does that have a different name? If it has a different name, leave me it down in the comments because I really kind of like to know what other people call that. To me, it's just, I don't know, it's a fun pattern. Yeah, I don't know, it's absolutely smitten with it. So you can see here, like it was just a chevron to start with, right? That's easy peasy. The red that comes in next, that is the beginning of the pattern itself, which you kind of almost don't pay attention to it because it's just a chevron and then the pattern happens. But yeah, it's totally a thing. See, now the red is going to come all the way down to that white and turn around, and then you get 2 rows in, and then you make that first little diamond. It's so cool. It really is. I really kind of enjoyed how this one went together. And out of the 3, obviously the first one is like the easy one, like you don't need to look at a pattern or anything. This one you do need the pattern a bit, but as far as the bracelets go, this one might be my favorite. So now this blue does a little zigzag right at the end because it needs to send that second reddish color back into it. So it's kind of sneaky. It looks like it just goes straight in, but it doesn't. And that's like one of the big tricks in this bracelet is that, you know, there's a couple of times where this the chevron like part does something different just for the sole purpose of making it work. And like this orange that's coming in, that orange becomes the diamond in the little one single knot in the center. But it's so disconnected that you almost don't even notice that that's the same orange at all. So yeah, this one really, I don't know. I'm not trying to sell you guys on that. I'm just really excited. So, and mind you, I did this bracelet in a day, give or take. I mean, you know, Mandy had done the kumis in advance. You can see like just from the video, right? You can tell like this is all just sitting down one time, one take, and it's all very much sped up. Like this is not how fast I knot, of course, right? But yeah, this is. It just turns out so cool. And see, by like this point, I can kind of tell that like, you know, the yellow is coming in to make up the diamond where it's supposed to be. The other colors just go straight. I don't even have to look at the pattern as much anymore. And hopefully this gives you an idea, like if you're looking at the pattern yourself and you're trying to see like how to best go about doing it, hopefully you can like look at this video and kind of see the steps on how like I concentrated on one area at a time and how it went together pretty well for me that way. And hopefully that makes it easier for you. I mean, because at the end of the day, that's what my tutorial is all about, right? It's about teaching you how to do what I'm doing. So, yeah. You can see this is bringing us into the middle area. So yeah, I'm not sure how many times faster the speed up is. It is pretty quick, but yeah, this was all just sitting there. I think when I stopped the video it was just because I had to get up and go use the toilet, so I didn't like record the whole thing. But I came back and got right to it. And that's might be partly the whole ADHD thing. I got like really hyper focused and excited about doing a thing, and yeah. This is, yeah, so obviously I'm past the halfway point. The chevron-like things are going in the other direction now. There is one spot in here where I have to like make sure that when the blue comes into play that it bounces the second red back in, kind of like it did in the first part. But since I had already done it and since I knew the orange had to be there and not the blue, that was relatively simple. I didn't have too much to have to worry about. It was kind of easy. And again, I had the pattern to look at, so you know, if you start to get a little questionable whatever, you can always check the pattern. Okay, so that is this bracelet, and like I said, it turned out really good. Is it focusing? I love this one, but I mean, I don't know. Tell me in the comments down below which one you prefer. Also leave me some ideas of things that you're interested in maybe playing around. I'm going to try doing some more of these 16 string bracelets and various methods and using, because mind you, so you can see all these are exactly the same size, right? Because I use the same template, and that way I know that they're going to turn out like the size that they're going to fit people. So that's it. So leave me some patterns. Let me know what you think. Tag me if you do it yourself, and I'll be back with some more videos soon, hopefully. All right. I want to thank my Patreon supporters for making this possible. Without them, I couldn't really go about making these videos or anything. So thank you to my Patreon supporters. And as always, don't get your strings in a bunch.